Hi team. I remember when I first sobered up, when I first committed to a life of abstinence from alcohol, and I was looking ahead to the future and thinking how daunting, how impossible that first year of sobriety seemed. It seemed impossible. It appeared to be a Herculean task, because I'd only ever really managed to get, 30 days tops of sobriety, and now I'm looking at 365. I remember thinking, wow, that seems like quite the insurmountable task. And I remember I joined this forum, Sober Recovery. I highly recommend it. In the Sober Recovery forum, you will find the method that works for you. And eventually I found avrt, which you can find in the book Rational Recovery by Jack Trimby. And that was the key for me. That worked for me. I'll put the link in the description. This is not product placement. That's just the book that worked for me, so I like to recommend it. But it's not product placement. I remember on that forum, one of the rooms, one of the forums, the groups that you can join, was the 1 year and over group. A group of people who had a year of sobriety or more. And I longed to be in that number. I thought, I wonder what it feels like. I wonder what it's like. I wonder how the challenges will be different. I wonder if it will be different. I wonder how they got there. I wondered, do they still think about alcohol? How does their life look? And now all these years later, we're looking at 8 years later, I did a little reminiscing and a little thinking back. And I thought I should give my best advice on how to get you to that first year and get you through that first year. Because of just how chaotic that time is in your mind. The powerful emotions that go on in that period of time. And it's a roller coaster. You'll often hear it described as a roller coaster, and that's a very accurate way of describing it, because it is one heck of a roller coaster. The highest highs and the lowest lows, the greatest moments of peace and serenity, and also moments of total and abject terror, frustration, confusion, stress. You're gonna have it all in that first year, let me tell you. When you get past the so for me, like I say, I'd only been able to get 30 days of sobriety before going back to it before. So anytime I got past that 30-day mark, I felt like I was walking a tightrope. And it wasn't until much later, after doing the learning, the healing, the growing, the understanding, and most crucially of all, making a permanent plan for abstinence, it wasn't until a bit later that I realised it's not a tightrope at all. There are no days, there is no time, it's only ever now. And you are always in control. I know it won't feel like that right now, but you are. It's only ever now, it's only ever the present moment, and your decisions are always yours. It won't feel like that right now, I know. So, having done a bit of this reminiscing and thinking back, I thought I should probably give my best advice for how to approach this first year. Some of the things to expect, and some of the most eye-opening and surprising things that happened for me during that year. And it's my hope that if I can share my experience, the lessons learned, that brought me to this place of secure, total abstinence now, well, maybe it might help you. And one of the things that struck me whilst I was kind of preparing for this video was just how little it's on my mind now. I just don't think about alcohol other than to do these videos. It's just not a part of my life. And nobody else would say, like, it's a part of my life. It's just, Corin doesn't drink, that's it. You know, it's not a part. And you're probably, if you are in recovery or recovering or recovered, you might be longing for that. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, you can have it. You can. It's totally possible. You just do it. Find what works for you and do it. Your addiction doesn't want to hear that. But there is a part of you, a growing part of you, that longs for that secure, permanent abstinence, healthy, peaceful mind, and a life free from the pain, the turmoil, and the consequences of addiction. So first up, is it possible for you? Absolutely it's possible for you. 110%. Absolutely. So, I don't know where you are in your current circumstances and situation. Maybe you're newly sober, you've just begun this process. Maybe this is the first time you've ever tried it. Maybe you've tried a few times, but you're in that awful state, that kind of despairing state. You know, you're in that kind of, I've tried so many times but nothing seems to work, that kind of place. Or maybe you're still in active addiction and you're looking to stop, and the prospect of what are these early days going to be like? Well, I got something for you. Wherever you are in your journey, or maybe you're a bit further down, maybe you're at like 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever, and still there are things where you're like, because as you're approaching that first year, you know, your addiction takes hold of everything, right? Your addictive voice will jump on everything. And as you approach the end of that first year, you might find, paradoxically, there's a little bit of extra addictive voice activity going on in your old brain box. And you're thinking, why? What on earth's going on here? It's an interesting phenomena. Apparently, prisoners, okay, who are reaching the end of their sentence, often, in fact, it's a well-recognised phenomena in the prison system, that as prisoners approach the end of their sentence, their behaviour gets far worse. How interesting is that? As freedom approaches, it must just be the prospect, the nervousness, and perhaps that self-sabotaging kind of urge kind of bubbles up. Who knows, right? Maybe it's just the strong emotions that cause this odd behaviour. It's well recognised. That's just food for thought. So wherever you are in your journey, I mean, the first thing, the most important thing, is actually to make this decision. And that's probably the first thing that I'd want to just ask. Have you actually made the decision to stop drinking? You might get quite angry at that, but it's not actually you that's angry at me asking you that. It's actually your addiction, your addictive voice that's angry. Have you actually made the decision yet? Because how curious It really is that you can be nervous or apprehensive about something. But if you've decided not to do this thing anymore, so what's the nerves? Why would you feel nervous? I know this is a deep and complicated appearing subject, but let's just find some simplicity here. Let's work to a place of peace and simplicity. How can you be afraid of doing something if you've decided not to do it? That fear, that nervousness, is the addiction. I wish I'd known that sooner. I really do. Just how subtle and sneaky the addictive voice can be. It hides in the shadows of your emotions, masquerading as higher logic, masquerading as higher reasoning. Sneaky, subtle, devious, clever. But when you've seen it clearly, it has no place to hide. The shadows cannot exist in the presence of the light. And this is not kind of spiritual woo-woo stuff. By light, I just mean awareness. The more aware you are of your own thoughts, your own feelings, the more you begin to separate between what is your actual, reasonable, healthy, higher reasoning and what is your addictive voice, the more secure you're going to feel. So have you made the plan yet or not? Have you? It can come as quite a surprise. And it's a really interesting one to ask people when they're talking about their addiction. How am I going to stop? How am I going to do this? What am I going to do? It's all good stuff. It's all good stuff. But sometimes it's quite a surprise when you ask them, what's your plan regarding the future use of your substance or activity? What's the actual plan? Well, a lot of the times it's like, well, what? Well, I plan to be sober. Yeah, but have you decided yet to stop? Have you decided to stop the activity? Because if you haven't decided, anything downstream is going to be a waste of time, because you need to make the decision first. Now, a lot of this stuff that I'm going to be talking about is from the perspective, from the framework, from the methodology, from the model of addictive voice recognition technique, the book Rational Recovery by Jack Trimpey. Okay? But I try to be accommodating for anyone's methodology, all right? You have to start where you are. That's it, team. You have to start where you are. You have no other choice but to start where you are. And we're all going to make it to the top of this mountain, okay? And at the top of the mountain is secure, permanent abstinence, all right? But we all start at a different point around the bottom, okay? So wherever you are, whatever your methodology is, it's all good. It's all good. Provided the plan is secure, permanent abstinence, right? That's it. Stop torturing yourself with this idea, maybe I'll handle it. No. We know that doesn't work. We know that doesn't work, right? That is one of the key things to do early on, is stop torturing yourself with the background level of doubt. Maybe once I get 6 months under my belt, maybe I'll be able to handle it after that. Come on. You have already done the greatest scientific experiment for your personal sobriety than any study on earth. No study on earth could possibly match it. Why? Because you've already experienced firsthand that this substance does not work for you. You know this. So it's done, right? It's in the tin. It's over. Job done. Everybody go home. There's no grey area. There's no grey area. This is black and white. It does not work for you. It has to stop, right? Now you'll notice here, there are two things. At the prospect of it has to stop forever, you feel a surge of anxiety. You might feel frustration, anger towards me saying that. You might have strong cognition, these thoughts of, it's not that simple, it doesn't work like that. Really? Is that you saying that, or is that your addictive voice? Right? We getting there? You understand? We starting to pick this apart right now? Right? Your addiction hates the idea of forever. That's the one thing it can't stand. Your addiction is fairly comfortable with, let's go a month. It casts doubt in your mind, but it's fairly comfortable with it. But forever, it cannot stand it. So as we're going through this first year right here, what are some of the things that I wish I'd known, or I wish somebody had said to me, or I wish I'd come across in those earlier days? The first thing, as you go through these early days, these weeks, these months, you go through the turmoil, okay? It's gonna be chaos, right? Internally and perhaps externally as well. It's just a mess. I mean, you've had all those years previous leading up to this moment where it's just turmoil, all right? You've had all those years leading up, and now you've got a very uncertain future. You don't know you've got no reference point for what a sober life is going to look like, because you've never lived one. Probably not, anyway. You've never lived one, so you've got no real... this is why it seems impossible, right? Because you've got no reference point. This is new. And that newness is both terrifying and liberating. Now we're going to lean into the liberating, all right? Don't worry about the terrifying. The addiction's terrified, but let's lean in. Let's lean in to the liberation. So that sunlight just came out there. That was beautiful bit of synchronicity. I couldn't have planned that myself. Let us lean into the liberation, team. Let us lean into the serenity. Right? So it's terrifying because you have no reference point for what it's going to feel like. You're going to have things to sort out in your life situation. You're going to have things to sort out internally, externally. You know this, all right? And it's hard work every single day. If you think about the mental energy that this requires, the emotional and mental and physical energy that these early days require. So the first thing that I must say is that it will not be like this forever. Okay? In the early days, I'm looking at the first probably 3 months. It's exhausting, it's chaotic, the emotional turmoil, the cognitive turmoil, the confusion, the doubt, the fear, all of it, right? And the hope. I can't remember who said it, but it's the hope that gets you. It's the hope I can't stand. Right? Now, your addiction will try and tell you that this is what sober life is like. It's chaos, it's horrible, I need something to take the edge off. No. Understand deeply. Everything is harder at the start. We know that to be true. We know that to be true. Anything is hardest when you first start. The first day of a job, it's hardest at the start, right? Learning a new skill, it's hardest at the start. Joining a gym, it's hardest at the start. Of course it is. Why is it? Because you've never done it before. You don't need a PhD in addiction studies to know that, right? That is plain common sense. Excuse me. So, understand, it's not going to be like this forever, right? I'm talking from experience here. 8 years down the line, right? Like I say, You just don't think about it anymore. There will come a time, it's so far from your mind, that you only think about addiction when you're filming a YouTube video. Obviously that's very specific to my experience, but any sober person will tell you the same thing. It's just not on your mind. And this early days of chaos, this early days of turmoil, just understand that to get through that, it's about the more time you rack up, the more you leave the past behind, the more events that happen that you stay sober through. You get your birthdays, your Christmas, your anniversaries, everything, right? Funerals, everything. The more you go through these periods of time sober, and the psychological stuff as well, you go through periods of anxiety and you stayed sober. You go through periods of feeling low, depressed, you stay sober. You get through some relationship struggles, sober. All these things that used to send you straight to the bottom of the bottle. I stumbled on that word because I didn't know whether to say bottle or barrel. It's bottle, isn't it? Bottom of the barrel's different. Send you straight to the bottom of the bottle, right? Now they don't do that anymore. And as this happens, a natural security begins to happen. Yes, it does. A natural serenity, a natural security, a natural abstinence. So that early day chaos, keep in mind, it won't be like this forever. Now you have no way of knowing that. You're just going to have to take that on faith and common sense. Because we know everything is hardest at the start. And I know how difficult it is, how tough it is. I'm not dismissing any emotions that are coming up for you. It's just that you gotta understand everything is going to be through the lens of early days of addiction recovery. And boy howdy, is that a skewed perspective. It is not indicative of normal emotion. It is not indicative, it is not representative of normal healthy emotion. It is indicative and representative of addiction thinking, addiction feelings. It will pass in time. Your addiction will say, no it won't, it's going to be awful forever. This sober life, why did we ever bother? Why did you ever bother with that sober life? It's going to be awful. Give it a rest. Give me a break. And that'll lead me to, in the early days, I remember how terrified I was of my own emotions. How scared I was of my own anxiety. It made me so reactive. It made me so defensive. It had me so barriered up and walled in because I felt so fragile, so vulnerable. Because I was terrified of feeling anxious and feeling low. Why? Well, because previously I thought I was drinking because it was like a self-medication sort of thing. That was my narrative. That was the narrative that my addiction came up with. You're drinking because you're so troubled. You're so anxious. You're so troubled and hurt that you're like a tortured artist. That was the archetypal narrative that I had in my head, and I was still holding on to it even in sobriety. That probably wasn't the smartest move. But anyway, so therefore, anytime I felt anxious and low, melancholic, I had this intense nervousness. So, And look, your addiction loves that. Addiction loves nervousness and anxiousness. Why? Because of the hidden implication. There is a hidden implication. Yeah, you got to be careful. You don't ever want to feel low, because you know where that leads you. No, that's your that's not higher reasoning. That's your addiction talking. So don't be afraid of your feelings, is the first thing. First thing, second thing that I would say. Which is not to say that you should put up with being anxious and depressed. Get help for those things, absolutely. If you find that you have strong emotions, there's something off about your emotional health, I would definitely recommend that you get help for those things. But there is a nuance here. Get help for those things, but understand that that's separate. That doesn't actually have anything to do with your sobriety. What? Now this is where we got to take the scalpel in here. Okay, I've been speaking in quite broad terms, but let's get laser focused and do some surgery on your mentality. Because you would think that, and there is a common kind of cultural myth as well, that like you need to sort out the underlying problems. And if you sort out the underlying problems, sobriety becomes effortless. That is the wrong way round, I'm afraid. Sorry to tell your addiction that, but that's the way it is. It's the other way around. Get sober, make the decision, make the plan, and we can deal with the underlying stuff. And we can look at what led to all of this in the first place later. But the important thing is not to drink. And that's something to get back to constantly in your first year. Because the first year is so chaotic and confusing, and you're this way, that way, you don't know what decisions to make. Should I move location? What should I do about my relationships? What do I do about my job? What method do I use for the emotional stuff? All of that's going on. Always come back to the important thing is not to drink. Right? That's it. That's bottom line. Bottom line, bottom line, bottom line. Because if you really focus in on that, laser focus in on that, everything else will sort itself out. It will. As impossible as that sounds right now, it will. Now you may come across underlying reasons. You will, all right? This is almost guaranteed. Your insight, your intuition as to what led you down this very dark path in the very first place will become very apparent. But you must practice a strong self-honesty. The reason that you got addicted and stay addicted is for the pleasure that it gives you. That's it, right? I don't know what to tell you. That's it. That's the only reason anyone ever does any of this stuff. It's pleasurable. Now, we may be in a very painful situation, and so pleasure is an even more attractive prospect. Sure, that doesn't change the fact the reason you became addicted and stayed addicted is for the pleasure that the substance or activity gives you. Sorry to tell it in such nuclear blast clarity, but there it is. Don't know what to say, other than everything I say. So don't be afraid of your emotions. Don't be afraid to feel anxious. Don't be afraid to feel low. In fact, you're gonna have to go through it, because this is a learning process. This is an experiential learning now. And perhaps there's just that sense of, I remember this clearly. I actually was relieved to be feeling normal human emotions that were just the result of normal everyday life. You know, there's conflict at work and I'm feeling a bit anxious and low because I'm tired, I'm stressed out, I'm just going through normal life. You go through normal life and you have normal human emotions, and actually it was a weird kind of relief, because I was like, well, at least I feel low because work's not going so great and I'm exhausted. At least I know that these are sober emotions. At least I know that these are the sort of emotions that everybody has. And if I learn to get through them... Sorry, I've got a bit of a cough at the minute. Just bear with me. If I get through these emotions sober, the normal, sober emotions, I've added another layer of understanding. I've added another lesson. And each lesson learned like this stays with you. It's permanent. Because it's experiential. You haven't read it out of a book. You haven't taken someone's advice and you're going on faith. This is actual experiential. So every period of low mood, every period of anxiety that you get through sober, you learn what the sober response to these emotions is. And you learn that everyone goes through these emotions. Everyone. And so just go through it. Figure it out. That's what everyone else has been doing this whole time, right? You're just rejoining normal life. You're rejoining normal human existence. And you find that everyone's been going through anxiety and depression this whole time. It's just that not everybody becomes addicted. Right? That's it. So, you go through these negative, afflictive emotions, and boy, are you going to have a lot of them. I don't know what to say. We're looking at fear, guilt, shame, regret, depression, sorrow, rage, grief, some of the hardest, most difficult emotions. And remember that everything is going to be through the lens of this early days of recovery from addiction. So everything is magnified tenfold. It won't always be like this. It won't. And don't be afraid. How you feel has nothing to do with your behaviour. Is there a part of you that really didn't want to hear that? Is there a part of you that was enraged at that statement? How you feel has nothing to do with your behaviour. Doesn't have to, anyway. This is where the freedom is. Emotional freedom. The freedom to feel. The freedom to feel normal human emotions. By not being afraid of your own emotions, now you're not going to shy away from life. Not anymore. You won't be shut in. You won't be terrified to start new relationships. You won't be terrified to change jobs. You won't be afraid to be alone. You won't be afraid anymore. It's coming. That time is coming for you. Alright, buddy? Stay with it. Stay with it. Easy? No. Simple? Yes. Boy, is it simple. Keep refocusing. Laser focus into. As long as you're not drinking, right, life will just continue normally and eventually healthily. Might take a while to get there. Rocky start is most often the case. So the laser focus scalpel right there is understanding. Your behaviour has nothing to do with how you feel, so don't be afraid of your emotion. And the only reason you ever drank anyway is for the pleasure that it gave you. So grow up. I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, but that's it. I had to grow up. That's what I had to do. Alright? I could have done with a bit more of that talking to. I'm like your older brother right now, saying, come on, let's go, get a grip. Grow up a bit. Why? Because we need you on the team. We need you on the human team. And I'd be willing to bet that you have some incredible gifts to give to this world that have been buried, suppressed. You haven't been able to be the person that you're destined to become because of this horrible poison that has seeped into your life. So that's why I say grow up and let's start getting it right, because we need you on the team, right? Humanity wants you. It does, right? There's nothing wrong with you. A very deep part of you isn't comfortable hearing that. There's nothing wrong with you, and there never was. Never. Every single second of your existence you have belonged here on this planet as part of humanity. And you have so much love to give, so much to add to the common stock of human experience. And it's time to start doing that, as hard as it's going to be, as difficult as a prospect as it may seem. It's time to start doing it. Humanity wants you here. We want you on the team, getting it right. And it won't be a boring life. That's what your addiction's trying to say. You don't want to be one of these boring people who just going to shut the window. It's getting a little chilly in here. It's not going to be a boring life. You haven't given in. You've stepped up. That's what's happening. It's not a cowardly relinquishing. It's not like that. It's a stepping up, seeing the light and seeing that what am I trying to say? You drop this narrative of like, oh, I'm a rebellious free spirit. Yeah, that needs to go. And instead it's, look, humanity is you're here for a reason. And everyone who's living a normal life is going through ups, downs, lefts, rights. It's chaos and turmoil for them too. They're not mindless drones plugged into the system, and now you're gonna have to be one of them as well. It doesn't work like that. Sobriety is the greatest adventure you could possibly imagine. Sobriety gives you everything that the addiction was promising you. In sobriety, you are free to do all the things that you ever wanted to do, and you will have the self-esteem, the self-worth to do it. There was never anything wrong with you. Not for a single second. You've always been fine. Surprise! Surprise, you're fine. Let's grow up and move on. Let's move forwards and have an adventure. Let's see what the future holds. Fear of going back to your addiction. Is the addiction talking? Fear. Fear is the addiction, right? This happens as you come towards the end of that first year. And you're thinking, hey, I'm gonna make it, right? I'm gonna make it. Hang on a minute. This could actually happen. This could actually happen for me. And as you're coming to the end, you'll have that fear coming up. But what if? What if I go back to it? You must understand, this is crucial. That fear of going back to it is the addiction talking. Your addiction's gotten very good very skillful at pretending to be logic. Got to be realistic about these things. You know, we've got to be realistic. We've got to come to expect it. That's the addiction. I'm telling you. The addiction's very clever. Because how can you be afraid of doing something that you've decided not to do? And another one that is very hard to hear, but crucial to hear. How can it be hard to not to do something? How can it be hard to not do something? If I had a bottle of bleach in front of me now, would I be worried? What if I drink it? Oh no, there's a bottle of bleach in the car. What if I drink it? No. I wouldn't be afraid of that. Why? Because that would be stupid. Am I making it sound too simple? What voice is saying that's too simple? What voice is saying that? Is that you? Are you sure? What voice is saying it doesn't work like that? Well, that's convenient, isn't it? It's convenient to your addiction. It's not that simple. We need to be realistic about this and understand. Not buying it. Not buying it for a single second. Not buying it. That's a great mantra to have when your addictive voice comes up. Not buying it. Not interested. It's like a salesman coming to your door. Yes. I have this block of wood and I'd like to sell it to you for £10,000. Really? Slam the door in his face and tell him to shove off. There are stronger words than shove, but I'm going to go with shove. He can knock again. But this is the best wood ever, right? This isn't just wood, right? This is American redwood, all right? This is good stuff. It's been treated. This wood is, it's been varnished. It's good stuff, all right? And all I'll need is £10,000 from you. Man, who are you trying to fool? And it's the same. That's how your addiction comes, all right? Understand that. It will keep knocking, and it will come with different things every single time. You can't handle sobriety. You have a brain disease. You need it to take the edge off. Your life is boring without it. You've had a long day, you deserve it. You've had lots of sober time now. You're 8 months in, so now you can handle it. Not interested. Slam the door. I am not buying it. Not interested. And the more you do that, you know, that salesman will eventually give up, because the salesman knows it's a waste of time. This person at this address is no fool. This person at this address cannot be manipulated, cannot be coerced, will never be delusional enough to believe my sales patter, and it shuts up. That salesman stops coming to the door eventually. Common sense and take it on faith, all right? That's how it works. Same with any habit. If you were stuck, you know, there's a certain snack you always eat, this certain chocolate you always eat, and you think, this isn't good for my health, I'm going to stop. You're going to crave it for a while, and then after a while, you just don't think about it anymore. It's the same. I know this sounds, I'm not trying to be patronising. I'm really not, because I know it's confusing to start with. Just again, back to that total laser-focused understanding. As long as you're not drinking, right, and rack up the time, you're going to start rapidly approaching the end of that first year. But understand the fear as this happens. It's like that prisoner coming to the end of his sentence. Maybe the prospect of freedom, it just sparks something up. There's a nervousness in there. Well, just embrace it, all right? It's normal. And your freedom is coming. In fact, you've already got it, because you've decided. You're already free. Ta-da! Presto bingo. Job done, mate. Job done. That's it. Job done, you made the decision, never gonna drink again, and that's the end of that. Slam the door in that salesman's face. I've had enough of this. I'm not gonna sit here listening to this guy waffling. Man, you really think I'm gonna buy a plank of wood for £10,000? You must think I'm stupid. You must think I was born yesterday. Now, don't get into an argument. You just slam the door. If you start getting into a debate in your mind, your addiction wins. It's like that one friend who's like an attention hog. Have you ever had that? You ever noticed? Have you ever been in a conversation with someone and realised that your energy is just being drained? Because it's not a two-way conversation. You're talking and they're just sucking up all of your... They're not thinking. They're not taking what you say on board, processing it and being an active listener. It's not a conversation. You're just essentially entertaining them. You ever had that? That's what's happening with the AV, the addictive voice. Entering into a discussion with the addiction, your addiction wins. There's nothing left to discuss. It's over. It's in the tin. Just expect that knock at the door from time to time. You know it's coming. You just roll your eyes. What, again? What's it? You might even... What is it this time? Oh, you've had a bad day. You deserve a drink. Gap, man. Man, the decision is made. The decision's made. It's been made. It's done. It's over. Move on. Rack up that time. And as you get to the end, I can't say how it's going to manifest for you. But it happens for everyone at some point. Something very deep and profound happens on an internal level. In your inner world. A security. The feeling. Just says, I get it. I get it. I get it. Oh. And it's going to be different for everyone. So for some people that might manifest as like a kind of divine inspiration. And it feels like a higher power has taken over. For other people, it might just come as a solid decision that is finally there. That's it. It's over. It's going to be different for everyone, depending on your temperament, depending on your native beliefs, depending on your experiences, depending on your individual expression of life. But you will have that moment at some point. You just go, right, that's it, it's done, it's over. And you'd think there'd be some kind of ecstatic running around, I'm finally free, but it's not like that. It's subtle, it's quiet, it's just, right, okay. Time to live a normal life. Freedom, dignity, grace, peace, serenity. And the freedom to then think, wow, all of those things that I thought I couldn't have. I thought I'd never have that career. I thought I'd never get married. I thought I'd never have kids. I thought I'd never have mental stability. Well, in time, the freedom starts saying, why not? Why can't you have those things? Now that you're sober, you can have everything that you were meant to have. Anything meant for you will find its way to you, but you have to stay sober. But don't wait for the life circumstances to align in order for that security to happen. And I was in two minds about talking about that security, because now you're going to look for it and you're going to wait for it, and you want that to happen to finally shut up the addictive voice. I want that bit of security. Don't look for it. Don't try to make it happen. It will just happen. It will just happen. You got to put the work in first. You got to put the work in. And I know sometimes this is real hard to hear, because I have the luxury now, the privilege of being able to be on the other side of the gate, looking back and making it sound so easy, so simple. Yeah, just do this, just do that, just do this, and yeah, and then it's job's a good one. And I know for you, in the position you're in, it ain't like that. It's chaos. Inwardly, there's a turmoil. It's exhausting. It's frightening. Man, some of those evenings I remember. The rage, the confusion, the fear, the terror, the sweat, the physical stuff. I haven't talked about the physical stuff at all, and that's not the purpose of this video, but you're still going through the physical stuff. It's all going on for you, you know? And social stuff as well. Man, the amount of times. It was so eye-opening for me to realise just how sick and evil my father really is. Because he did not want me to sober up. And he intentionally attempted to sabotage me, undermine me, devalue me, invalidate my journey, constantly trying to manipulate me, and he did not want me sobering up. Why? Many reasons, but one, your sobriety is going to shine a light on everyone else's addiction. And when you start gaining some self-worth, some courage, some confidence, you become very difficult to manipulate. And narcissists don't like losing their little slave. Narcissists do not like losing their supply, their worker. And you're going to find this in the social stuff. Your sobriety shines a light on everyone else's addiction, and they're not going to like it. You have to be cautious about this. You might want to really think about who you are spending your time with and who you are allowing to influence you. The reason I say that is because I remember, as I was becoming aware of this, that is a lot to take on. I was completely duped before, utterly delusional, didn't realise just how badly I was being emotionally abused. So I was dealing with the revelation of that alongside the sobriety, with all of the new sobriety, with all of the psychological, internal, external chaos, right? And I remember some of those hours that went past, sweating, enraged, confused, frightened, back and forth, just the ups and the downs. It was hell. Hell. I remember. I do remember. And you might be there right now, okay? So, I'm going to reach in and pull you out of there. Because the help is coming. Unseen forces will come to your aid. The help is coming to pull you out. But you must stay sober. That's how you free yourself. That's how you get away from all this. Make this the last time you ever go through it. And sometimes For all the fancy tricks I can talk about, for all the perspectives, for all of the healing that I speak on, sometimes it's a fight. It's just a brutal, in the trenches fight. I like in Top Gun, there's a wonderful scene. I don't know why this struck me, but sometimes I see these scenes and the emotional power of it, I don't even know why. I don't even think this scene was meant to be poignant and profound. It's the new Top Gun one, where he's got his co-pilot, I think it's Maverick and Goose, right? And there's like 2 ultra advanced fighter jets that suddenly start tailing them, and they're in an old beat up F-14, like this was like 4 generations ago of fighter. And Goose, they like look and they're like, these things are tailing them, and it's about to go south rapidly. They're just becoming very aware that this is happening. And Goose says to Maverick, I think we can outrun them. Maverick says, an F-14 against 5th generation fighters? Nah, we ain't outrunning them. And the look on Goose's face, as his face drops, and he just says, then it's a dogfight. And you have to be prepared for this, team, because sometimes during that dark, dark night, the dark night of the soul, it's a dogfight. But I'm with you. There's a whole team of people with you. And anyone who has gotten sober has been through many a dogfight and come out the other side victorious. That's everything I have for you today, team. Thank you so much for listening. Please feel free to pop in the comments anything that's arisen for you during that video. Please just let me know where you're at with things. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe on the way out. It really helps me to get into the algorithm. Just being honest about why I ask for the like and sub. And there's a channel membership you can join at the bottom there. If you join the membership, you gain access to a chat room, and in that chat room you can ask me any questions about this process, about sobriety, or just find a little bit of comradeship with this process. And you gain access to my exclusive guided meditations and talks. I'll be putting more and more sobriety-based content on the channel. Thank you for listening so much. I truly hope you are well out there. Stay strong. Don't drink, rack up the sober time. Take care, be well, and stay present.